Once again, we have the one, the only, the great former state rep and local hero, Rick Green, is going to be our moderator tonight, and he's going to explain the rules and the format for this evening's forum. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Thank you, Wally. Wally is on the first team All-American polling location sign holder Olympic team. I think you probably held signs at our polls in Dripping Springs more than anybody I've seen, and I've seen a lot of people holding a lot of signs, so thanks for all you guys do to volunteer for candidates as well. Sort of the same thing, a lot of you guys were here last week. Just a reminder of how it's going to work. We'll do 2-minute openings for each candidate, and we drew for that beforehand to see what order that was going to be in. Thank you, Linda. And then we'll have questions from the audience, and if you hadn't had a chance to write one down, we have cards, 3x5 cards back here. Please raise your hand or jump up and go get one and handwrite your question. Linda will collect them and we'll try to get all of the questions in. They'll have 1 minute each to answer, even if the question is directed to a particular candidate. And guys, we'll do the same thing I did last week. So first question, I'll probably start with you, John, and then the next one you'll get it first, but everybody will get a chance to answer it, and we'll just keep rotating like that, and then we'll have a closing statement of 2 minutes each as well. So we drew to see who was going to go first. Bill Davis drew first for the opening, then it'll be Robert Avera, and then John Burns. Mr. Davis, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Bill Davis, and I hope we're all here tonight for the Justice of the Peace Precinct 4 primary race. Thank you for coming. You probably want to know a little bit about the candidates. I was born and raised in the Texas Gulf Coast. I went to University of Texas for electrical engineering degree. I got my electrical engineering degree, then proceeded to graduate school, got my master's in engineering at graduate school at the University of Texas. Went back to work in Houston for a few years, became a professional engineer, ultimately returned to University of Texas to get a law degree. I primarily practice, and I've been living in the Dripping Springs area since at least 1994. I'm married. My wife and I have 2 high school students we're very proud of that attend the Dripping Springs Independent School District. I practice as an attorney in several areas of law: federal administrative law, state administrative law, and other state and federal law. And I participate a lot in civil litigation, particularly on constitutional issues. One of the things that got me interested in this race was I was very upset with the county that implemented a school speed zone camera program over at the schools here, which when I looked at this, the county had no right to do that. It encroached upon the duties and responsibilities of the independent office holders, including the JP's office and the constable's office. And I ended up suing the county to put an end to that program. The program has ended. The case is still going on. But the bottom line is, it's illegal for the county to do that. And I've seen this ongoing encroachment of county government, particularly the Commissioner's Court, into other independent office holders. And I call myself the constitutional candidate because my goal is to keep the office of the JP independent of encroachment by the Commissioner's Court. Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Avera.
Thank you. Robert Avera. I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4. First of all, I want to say thank you to Judge Kyle for your service, 12 years of service. Really appreciate it. I've been in front of you. You've always been fair and impartial, and I appreciate that. And I really enjoy your prayers. That's my favorite part of these things. So I said a prayer while he was saying a prayer. I said, God, please get me through this. So, and I also do a lot of prayers, especially when I'm going to knock on somebody's door. That's the hardest thing I can do, and without God's help, I certainly would not have been able to do that. So that's a great thing. I also want to thank you, my wife and family, for being here. Got a wife, beautiful wife. She's been through this with me, been a great supporter, my kids. And also thank all the other supporters that are here for me today. And I want to thank Wally and his group for putting this thing together. Really appreciate that. So why am I running for Justice of the Peace? Service, that's why. When I was growing up, I grew up in Austin. We had a ranch out here. We've had a ranch out for 30 years, and I've always enjoyed coming out here. But after high school, I was kind of lost. And I found a way through AmeriCorps, and I served my country in AmeriCorps. I did volunteer service, I fought fires, and I loved it. It was the greatest thing. I fought fires for 7 years, helping people, doing great things, and it was so exciting for me. But my heart always remained here in Dripping Springs. Ladies and gentlemen, This is my favorite place on earth. I can tell you that without a doubt. I love this place. I've seen all the changes, but it's still the best place for me. And so I came back to build my family, and I went to Baylor Law School, and I've served in many capacities in Dripping Springs. I'm the president of the fire department. I'm in Rotary since 2007. And I tell you all these things. I've been involved in DSYSA, coached many basketball, baseball, and softball and t-ball games. And I tell you these things not to brag, but to tell you I'm committed to this community. And my commitment will prove when I come to serve you, and I will do my best to uphold justice and ensure the Constitution is followed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burns.
Thank you. I'm John Burns. Through years of hard work, perseverance, and many blessings, I've been fairly successful. I reached a point in my life where I no longer need to chase the almighty dollar. I'm able to give back to my community and will work full-time to be the successful Justice of the Peace if elected. I believe the combination of my professional and life experience make me uniquely qualified to serve in this role. I've been married to my wife, Melody, who's right over there, for 34 years. We have 3 children and 9 grandchildren. We're primary caregivers for our 3 parents, all in their 80s. My mother-in-law, Marge, is next to my wife. We attend Dripping Springs United Methodist Church. I've been a lifelong Republican, as have been my parents. I've essentially had 3 different professional careers. I've been a practicing attorney for over 20 years. I'm a military veteran, having served 22 years in the United States Navy. Spent 5 years on active duty and 17 years in the Navy Reserve. Most of my reserve time, I was in naval intelligence. I held a top secret security clearance for over 16 years. I also have a PhD from Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, and I did medical research for 14 years. During my life, I've interacted with people from all walks of life and a variety of socioeconomic backgrounds. I've literally had hundreds of people report to me over my professional career. I've had many positions of responsibility and leadership management in both the Navy and in corporate America. I've been working hard for this position. I've been knocking on doors every weekend since early August. So far, I've knocked on over 3,500 doors. I have a proven track record as a hard worker and overachiever. I'm a good listener, and I'm willing to consider the viewpoints of others before reaching a position. And I believe I'm uniquely qualified to serve as our next Justice of the Peace. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're going to dive into questions. Thank you, ma'am. More questions. Excellent. Y'all keep them coming. One of the things I love about this, and I hope everybody's here for the same reason, it really does give you a chance to get to know the candidates better. I'm coming into this with no opinion on you guys. I really haven't decided who I'm going to vote for, and so I'm looking forward to your answers and helping me to decide as well. Just like last week, gave me a chance to know the candidates and be able to make an informed decision. Sometimes we go in and just vote based on which sign looked best. That's not a good way to vote, right? So thank you guys for putting on this candidate form and giving us a chance to get educated. All right, fellas, here we go. This one's kind of a 2-part question. All of you are practicing attorneys, and our 4th candidate was invited, word was given, so we're just missing him. But you 3 are attorneys, and so kind of a 2-part question. Will you leave your practice to devote 100% of your time to this position? And if so, why would you leave your current position that probably pays a lot better than being a JP? And we'll start with Mr. Burns.
Yes, I will leave my practice. My current practice is primarily elder care, which helps seniors get Medicaid, estate planning, wills, powers of attorney kind of documents, veterans benefits, and probate. Those are all things that I can wind down fairly quickly, and I'll stop taking new clients. And what was the second part of it? Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Well, as I said earlier, I've been fairly successful in life, and I don't need to chase the almighty dollar anymore, and this is my opportunity to serve my community and because I have the ability to work full-time at this job, that's exactly what I'll do. Thank you. Does that answer your question?
It doesn't, and I understand there's not a Democrat in this race. Is that right? Does anybody know? That's correct. So whoever wins the primary, it's over at that point, or runoff, so you actually have whatever that be, 7-8 months between now and taking the job to wind down, if that's the direction you're going. Okay, we'll just go straight down the line. Go ahead.
Alrighty. I do have a practice, federal and state law. I don't have an intent to ramp anything up, but the office of the JP takes priority over anything. That's what I'm running for. However, I still have to hand off clients or take care of cases that are ongoing, you can't just dump your clients. So I don't intend to take on any more work, but I do intend to ramp things down and focus primarily on the JP office, and I intend to put the JP office first. That's what I'm being elected to. Thank you.
Robert?
Robert Avera, thank you for the question. I have said this before at the speech when my announcement party. I said that I give up my practice, and I stand by that. The thing about practicing law and being a judge is they're very different. Practicing law is about, working with clients. It's about money. Being a judge is about making things right, making the right decision, applying the law to the facts. There's a lot more, I think, there's a lot more benefit, a lot more self-benefit to being a judge, and that equals much more than any dollar amount. So I'm willing to do that, and I'm really excited about the opportunity. And given the time in between the primary and taking office, I feel like I should be able to wind down my practice.
Okay, we'll kind of keep going like we did last week, the softball questions for the first half of this thing, and then we've got some direct questions to you guys from the audience. We'll do those last. What attributes set you apart from the other two candidates? Please be specific. And we'll start with Bill this time.
Well, I understand some people say they're prepared to lead, and others talk about other things that they've done, but I've acted here locally and personally intervened using my credentials as an attorney to intervene or initiate cases when I thought the county or local government was overreaching into your rights, my rights, and everything else. A few years ago, certain county local government officials were trying to promote new legislation and a new governing body to essentially deny you access to groundwater. I intervened in that case, became a party to that case. I killed it as to everyone within the Hayes Trinity Groundwater Conservation District at the preliminary hearing. The traffic camera case must have scammed around 2,000 total parents out of their hard-earned money. Nobody was going to stop it from going on. I'm the one that sued to stop that. Nobody else did, and yet there's other attorneys in the community. So I believe I've proven that I will step in when necessary. Thanks.
Robert?
Rick, can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What specific qualities make you different, or attributes make you different from the other two candidates? More qualified?
I believe I'm more qualified. I've practiced in Dripping Springs since I started 9 years. I've practiced in every justice court in this county. I've represented people in eviction cases. I've represented people in small claims cases. I've represented people in debt cases in justice court. So I have hands-on experience of how each court in this county works. And also, I have experience in dealing with litigants in stressful situations, and I feel like my time in this county that way provides me to be the best candidate. In addition, my background serving on the fire department board, being involved in Rotary, being involved in the community for such a period of time that I have, I believe that there's a familiarity with me when litigants come in, which helps kind of ease their mind. And I know that during litigation, that can be one of the most stressful things, just coming to court. So I believe I'm the most qualified for the position.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, I've been a military veteran. I served this country for 22 years. At any given time, I could have been called up, placed on active duty, and put in harm's way. I, too, have represented clients in many courts in not only this county, Travis County, Bell County, federal courts, state courts. Not sure that's a big differentiator. I'm able to devote full time to this practice. This is not a stepping stone for me. This is my full-time job. And I think I have through years, decades of leadership and management experience, learning how to deal with people from a variety of different backgrounds, different situations. I think I'm able to be a good listener and help resolve problems in an effective and legal way.
All right, the JP Court is less formal than other courts. What experience do you have with such courts, and how would that experience change the way you run the JP Court? And Robert, you'll be first on this one.
Okay, thank you very much. Like I said before, I've been in front of Judge Kyle. I've been in front of every justice court in this county. I've also been in Travis and other counties. I understand what the typical litigant in a case like that is like, what they expect. I've read the rules of procedure specifically to justice court. I understand that the judge has the right to move the evidence along as they see fit. I understand that a litigant coming into a court like that might not really know what they should be saying. it's a stressful time for them. In my experience in dealing with pro se litigants on the other side, I understand how to help guide them, and as the judge, I will do that with compassion, yet I will still rule in a way that I'm ensuring that the law is followed and the facts are the proper way to make the ruling.
Thank you, sir. John?
Would you repeat the question?
Sure. The JP Court is less formal than other courts. What experience do you have with such courts, and how would that experience change the way you run the Justice of the Peace Court?
Yeah, I've never argued a case in the justice courts. I've attended many times. The formalities are what they are. This is not intended to be a highly formal court setting, but I think the same basic rules apply. People come in with situations they need to have resolved. It's the obligation of the judge to listen to the facts and circumstances of the case, apply the law appropriately, and make sure that people that are similarly situated get similar outcomes. Whether the court is formal or informal, that's just the way that the legal system is designed to run.
Thank you. Bill?
Thanks. The JP Court is the court that is closest to the people. I've had numerous cases in JP Court. I've been to cases in Judge Kyle's court. I think he did a great job of listening to people. Listening is number one in that court. But one of the things I would like to see changed, and this is because the justices aren't given as much control over the information flow of those courts as unfortunately the county has. You go to the county website, first thing it greets you about the JP Court is how to pay your fine. That's not appropriate. You continue to look at JP Court, there's forms on how to initiate a lawsuit, how to initiate an eviction suit, how to initiate a small claims suit. Those are great, they generate fees for the county. But there really needs to be a form for how to answer a lawsuit to people. It's not really balanced. I would like to bring balance to it and give both sides a fair opportunity to respond in civil litigation, and I promise to listen intently and give both sides the benefit of the doubt. Thank you.
So your primary function will be in the court, but how, if elected, will you lead in Dripping Springs outside of the court?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of big issues that need to be addressed. First of all, we're going through explosive growth right now, and as that continues, the load on the Justice Court will continue to go up dramatically. I think we need somebody with experience to streamline workflows and help that court manage the docket that it'll soon be facing without needing to hire more employees and get more tax money. I also think it's extremely important for the court to reach out to the schools and the children in the local community, to act as a positive role model for them, and to help them understand and appreciate the law. We, as I think a society, are suffering from generations who don't really understand responsibility and accountability. And I think it's important that we connect with our children. They're the future of our country, and I think that's an important role that the JP can serve outside of the courtroom.
Thank you, sir. Bill?
Thank you. As I said before, I'm interested in each branch of government retaining the independent office holders, leading where they're supposed to lead, and also respecting areas where they're not, it's outside their area of authority. I do believe in greater interface between the school and the JP, because in truancy cases, those will go before JP court. But I think the judge needs to focus on his job as a judge and appear where necessary to educate and interface with other entities like the local schools or perhaps some of the civic groups around town. But beyond that, I'm not sure what one is expecting of a JP. The JP's job is as Justice of the Peace. Thank you.
Robert?
Oh, thank you. I think a Justice of the Peace's primary job is to uphold the law and follow the Constitution. I don't think that a judge needs to lead specifically, take the front, take a case and do things differently than what the law provides. I think a judge receives evidence, receives cases, and deals with them as they come in. So I'm not sure that the JP should be leading. I can tell you this, I am a leader in this community, and win, lose, or draw, I will continue to be a leader in this community. I can point out also, in addition, working with families and being involved with the community is very important. One of my favorite things I do every year is I'm a Santa for the Burke Center, and I come in and help those troubled youth. And one year, my son was asking You just missed Santa. He just left. He didn't realize I was a Santa Claus. So those kind of things are really fun, and I'll continue to be involved in the community. But when it comes to being justice of the peace, I will apply the law to the facts, and I will uphold the Constitution.
How in the world are you supposed to vote against Santa? Guys, that was, man, y'all better come up with something quick. That was good. All right, what is your response to the idea that if you weren't born and raised in Dripping Springs, you are not qualified to be Justice of the Peace for Precinct 4? Kind of that, if you hadn't been here forever, you hadn't been here long enough attitude. And I think Bill's first up on this one.
Well, I haven't been here forever, but I've been here since at least 1994, and that's 23 plus years. I've owned property here, I live here, I participate civilly in various things. I've gotten involved in groundwater matters quite a bit at the Groundwater District and before TCEQ. And Judge Henry, I know he's here tonight. I've been a party in a few cases inside the neighborhood that he's presided over. So I don't think you have to live here forever. That's kind of an absurd position, frankly. You have a right to run if you live here, and it's up to the citizens to make a decision based upon those who are qualified as to who they want to be their next JP. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I wasn't born here. We've had a family ranch here for 30 years. I've lived here continuously since 2007. I did live here, and I came back from law school every weekend during the time in law school. But I think it's important to have some understanding of the way this county, this area is really changing. And I think it's also important to be able to understand the people that come in front of you and understand the background, having been in Dripping Springs for a while. I think that's important when you're making rulings and you're applying the law to the facts, that you keep in mind what the community is like, what they expect, and who they think should be doing certain things. So I think being here for a period of time is important.
Yeah, I've had a couple of opponents suggest that because I haven't lived here my whole life for an extremely long period of time, that I'm not a true Texan, that I'm a California politician who's here to destroy the values of the local community, which I think to be rather interesting. I was born in Utah when my father was serving in the Korean War in the Army. By the time I was 10 years old, I lived in 5 different states. I've lived in 8 states over my life, and I view that as a benefit. This area is growing dramatically. I don't ever want this to become Weird Austin. I always want it to be Dripping Springs, just west of Weird. But I think we need to acknowledge the fact that there are 10,000 home plans that have been approved and will be built in the next few years. And an awful lot of those people weren't born and raised in Dripping Springs or go to Dripping Springs High School. I think we need to have somebody who understands the local values, but also understands a broad array of people.
I know you guys don't have high-paid consultants, so I'll give just free advice. If anybody accuses you of being from California, in this race in Dripping Springs, you just say yes, because there's so many people from California that have moved here, you'll probably win. Okay, so will you demand an appropriate dress code in your court that shows respect to the bench? How would you enforce a dress code if you have one in your court, and why do you think a dress code is appropriate? And I apologize, guys, I don't know who I asked first last time. Go for it.
Well, please understand, this is not district court, this is not county court. It is court, and that needs to be respected, but Justice and Peace Court is the court closest to the people. You're dealing with people who are getting evicted, you're dealing with people that have been sued for credit card debt, you're dealing with people for traffic tickets, all walks of life, and frankly, the dress code for JP Court should not be what it is for district court and county court. It's just not the same. So there needs to be a reasonableness, but for me it would be pretty low. If people dress appropriately to walk around and be seen out and about, then that's going to be fine for JP Court. Thanks.
Robert?
Oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, I practice in San Marcos a lot, and the rules of decorum are important there, and I think I've had clients that showed up in tank tops and shorts, and the bailiff said, hey, you need to go, change. And I believe there should be a level of respect in the courtroom, and I believe that you're not asking too much for somebody just to wear a long sleeve, not a tank top, maybe, and not short shorts. I mean, the rules down there are not too onerous. I think it's completely reasonable to expect that. And actually, I had a situation where I forgot my tie one time, and I ran over to Alfredo in the county clerk's office. He let me borrow a tie. So I take it very seriously to come prepared, and I think by not holding that seriously, the litigants might not take the processes seriously. So I think there is just the basic requirements of just dressing like you're going to court.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what the other two gentlemen have said. This is the people's court. This is not intended to be, some kind of fancy federal court. At the same time, you need to respect both the court and the system. You need to understand you're in court and you're there for a serious matter. So I agree that, cut-off shorts and flip-flops and a tank top is not appropriate, but certainly formal business attire wouldn't be anything I would ever require someone to do at the court. That's all.
Okay, Robert, you'll be first on this one. What's the most important job description for a justice of the peace? We kind of asked this earlier in terms of how are you uniquely qualified, but I didn't really ask how would you describe the job of a JP?
Okay, there's many different aspects of the job for JP. There's magistrating people when they get arrested, setting their bond. There's signing warrants for officers when they suspect somebody's caused a criminal act. There's also civil cases, misdemeanor cases. Then there's also when you're going out to give notice when somebody's passed away. So all those things I think are equally important. I think the thing that Judge Kyle has always received good comment on is the way he handled himself in court, how he considered everybody's issues, how he made a fair ruling based on the law and the facts, and how the litigants, win or lose, felt like they were treated fairly. And that's the thing about any court. 50% of the people that go into court are going to lose. So it's the way the judge handles those people I think is very important.
John?
The question was, what's the most...
Basically, your description of the job of justice of the peace.
I think the job of justice of the peace is primarily to be a judge. Robert touched on some of those points. You hear trials several days a week. You issue search and arrest warrants. You arraign prisoners in the county jail. You also have responsibility to go out if there's an unexpected death and either certify the cause of death or order an autopsy. I think an important aspect of being the justice of the peace is to make sure that all cases are handled in a swift and fair manner, that everyone feels they were treated fairly, whether they prevailed or whether they didn't. I think it's important to listen carefully what people have to say, to understand the facts and circumstances, why things were done the way they were, and not to be critical, but to try to understand what the circumstances were, apply the law fairly, and make sure that everyone is treated, similar situations get the same outcome.
Bill?
I got to ask, if you wouldn't mind repeating the question again?
Just looking for your description of the job, the qualifications and the job for justice of the peace.
Well, again, my opponents have stated pretty succinctly what the job is. I don't really disagree with them on that. I don't know that I can add much more, except you also need to know what the job isn't, like the traffic ticket scam. You got to stand up and say, no, we don't hear those cases here. But I do believe, as I said before, the justice of the peace is the judge that's closest to the people, as it were, and you end up with a lot more informal type litigation than what you would expect to have in county court or district court. And I believe a judge that's going to listen to both sides and apply the law and the rules as he sees appropriate is the judge you need for that position. Thank you.
I don't think anybody will need a full minute for this one. Did you vote in the last Republican primary? Robert's next.
I don't remember.
John?
I did not.
Bill?
I did.
1 for 3. Okay, for everybody, or it says for all. Almost every answer given by Mr. Davis has, oh yeah, this is where it starts getting personal, guys, so put on your big boy britches. Here we go. The easy ones are over. Almost every answer given by Mr. Davis has revolved around conflict with the county. How will you work with county officials and others to the benefit of Precinct 4 residents given this combative relationship? So I don't think it's your turn, but we're going to start with you anyway, and then everybody else can chime in. Go ahead.
What question number are we on?
Question number?
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, I have no idea.
I'm just curious. Well, whoever asked that question, you said it's a combative relationship. You have to understand the county literally went on the attack of people that lived here. And I stood up for the people that lived here, including myself, and said, no, step back. The county way overstepped its bounds. And, you know, somebody has to step up every once in a while and say no. And I believe I've been vindicated because the county had to stop its program. And we'll find out during the course of the litigation where the money went, who profited from it, and why they were doing things like trying to change the signage at the school after these traffic ticket cases started in order to rig the outcome of these cases. Okay? So when you say it's combative, yeah. And we're changing some of the leadership at the county with this election. So hopefully, the new leaders at the county will not continue the approach that the previous leaders had. I don't know what more I could add to that. Thank you.
Robert?
I think that the Justice of the Peace will just work with the other county officials and just continue the way it's been going.
John?
I don't think it really makes much difference whether we're talking about the Justice Court or the U.S. Congress or a local organization. I think that when you're working at a job or you're in a key position, you need to have an effective working relationship with your peers. Whether you like them out of work or not is really not the issue. But when you're at work, you need to focus on your job and get that job done. And if that means interacting with people in San Marcos or Kyle or Wimberley, that's what needs to be done. And it certainly is, in my opinion, something that can be done fairly readily if one really focuses on what needs to do and you're willing to listen to what the other person has to say.
Robert, when did you register as a Republican?
I voted in the 2014 primary. The reason why I said I don't remember about the 2016 is I swear I did vote in 2016, but I checked my records and it's saying I didn't. So I voted in the 2014 primary.
You guys are welcome to respond if you like. It's up to you.
I've been a Republican all my life. My parents have been Republicans all their lives.
I was first able to vote when Ronald Reagan was running for office. I voted for Ronald Reagan, and I voted in every election since then as a Republican. Thanks.
Okay, let's see here. Trying to figure out how to do. Mr. Davis, if elected, would you continue suing the county? Would that be considered a conflict as the sitting JP?
Well, there's ongoing litigation, and if the county is willing to settle, it'll be over with. But yes, if I'm JP, that does not prevent that case from moving forward. It doesn't abate it, and there's not a conflict. Obviously, there wouldn't be anything before the office of the JP that would involve anything that I'm personally involved with or representing somebody else with in litigation with the county. But no, it has no impact on that litigation.
Comments from either of you guys? Go ahead.
No comment.
Nope. John? Okay. How important are the other responsibilities of JP, like managing the office, collection of fines, etc.? Yeah, I know it's a softball one, but I missed it too. So what about the other office? So we've talked a lot about how you would judge a particular case, how you would treat people coming into the court. What about just managing the employees that are there, collecting of fines, those other areas? The mundane details. Your thoughts on your qualifications on that?
Who's first?
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I think John is, yes.
I've been a personnel manager for probably 40 years. When I was 22 years old, I had 35 sailors reporting to me every day. A lot of responsibility, a lot of obligations. When you're in the military, stories about the dog ate my homework don't cut it very well. In corporate America, I've had as many as 30 people report to me. My last job in corporate America, I had 12 contract attorneys and paralegals reporting to me. I've got decades of experience in budget management, personnel management, process improvement, and I think those experiences apply directly. I don't really know whether there's that much difference in making sure that the workflow for getting a contract signed is that much different than the workflow to make sure that fines are paid in a timely manner and the docket's maintained and people get the fair and speedy trial they're entitled to.
Bill.
Well, I hate to keep harping on one case, but it's an example of so many things went wrong. I do believe it's important for the Justice of the Peace to retain his jurisdiction to collect those fines. One of the problems with the case that I guess I've been accused of keep harping on is the JP wasn't allowed to collect the money. It was going to an out-of-state bank account, out of control of the auditor, out of reach of the county treasurer. There was really no accountability for that money. And this is one of the points that I was suing over. The JP is the one where if there's a fine, it's supposed to be collected by the JP. How to pay your fine, you're supposed to be able to pay the JP, not send it to an unaccountable company, private company out of state in Ohio, actually, as it turned out to be. And I tried bringing it into that, and I wish I knew why other elected independent office holders didn't step in and say no. It took somebody in private practice to do that. Me. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So, just want to point out that the fines that were in 2017 to the county were $429,000 approximately, and the budget was a little bit over $80,000 for the JP. So the JP is a profit center for the county, and I will continue to do that. And I think from my experience, I've been running my own law office for 9 years in Dripping Springs. I understand how to docket cases, how to deal with cases. I have a paralegal that works for me. A lot of the similar type things will be involved in the law, in the court, same procedures. And also I've been involved in running a small business, my family business, when I was just coming back from Colorado. So I have a lot of experience in the law, running an office, a law office, and I think that will apply very good to practicing, running the Justice of the Peace Court.
All right, Mr. Davis, having filed the last day possible and not participating in previous forums and not campaigning until now, we know little about you. What made you decide that you wanted the job at the last minute?
I had been thinking about the job for a while. There were a number of jobs available in the county at the time, including, I believe, a position for commissioner and a few other positions in the county, but the one that I thought was most appropriate for me was as Justice of the Peace. I represent the individual. I represent the individual property owner. I represent, you might call it the underdog. I represent the person that gets abused by the out-of-control HOA. I represent the person who's having trouble with the financial institution. That's who I represent. I believe the JP job, I was best suited for that job and the other jobs, and I did think about different offices, but only decided roughly the first week of December that I was going to run for JP office. Thank you.
All right, I'm out of questions from the audience. This is where you, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Rick, I'll just ad-lib that and say why I decided to run for Justice of the Peace.
Sure.
If that's appropriate. In law school, I went to Baylor Law School, the best advocacy school in Texas, the highest bar passage rate.
Wait a minute now.
No.
Where's my UT? Thank you, Colonel. Appreciate that. Wes, appreciate that.
I'm not saying that I'm
just kidding, man. I'm kidding. I know you guys are the better litigators.
I don't mind
we
that
heard it the whole time.
Okay, let's just get that straight.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Okay. What I'm trying to tell you guys is I enjoyed, like in the practice court, we had moot court. I was a judge, and that felt good. Another thing too is I highly respect our judges. My job is to advocate for my client. I leave court sometimes going, I'm glad I'm not that judge trying to figure out this case. And the judge figures it out, and it makes sense. My client might be upset with the ruling, but when you look at it, it's like, okay, I can see how he did that. That's a great honor, to resolve disputes. And that's what I want to do, is help resolve disputes. Be the person that takes both cases, both sides, and makes a ruling. It's a great responsibility, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity.
Mr. Brennan?
Yeah, I was considering running for Justice of the Peace for well over a year. I thought that based on the fact that I would soon have time to dedicate to my community and my skill set, that the role of Justice of the Peace was the best match for me. And I knew that Terry Kyle was likely to be retiring, so I wasn't going to push anybody out of a job. When I shared with a friend, I was at least entertaining ideas about it. Within a couple of weeks, I had numerous people pushing me to run for Justice of the Peace for various reasons. And these are people who, some of them knew me very well. And I just decided that was the best opportunity for me and how I can best serve the community.
All right, so the fun part here, you'll get to ask each other a question. So you get to pick someone else to ask a question of. They will have 1 minute to answer that question, and then you will have 30 seconds to rebut their answer to your question. And Bill, since I think my questions picked on you a little more than the other guys, we'll let you pick first if you like.
A question for me?
Yeah, from you to one of the other guys.
I don't really have any questions at this point. I mean, there's 3 attorneys running for office. People get to ask their credentials, find out more about them. That's what this is about tonight, but I don't have questions for them. I believe the audience might.
Okay. All right, Robert, do you have one?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Mr. Burns.
Yeah, I'll pass too.
Okay. All right, if elected, how long I got some more, by the way, they just handed me some more. So, if elected, how long would you plan to serve and continue to run for JP? And let's see, we'll go with Robert down there first now.
Thank you. As I've said before, Dripping Springs is my favorite place on earth. I plan to serve as your justice of the peace until they carry me out. I think it's a great job. I believe my experience, my education has basically put me in a place where I feel like I'd be the best JP. So I want to be carried out of Dripping Springs, and I'd like to be carried out of the Justice of the Peace Courtroom too.
John.
I intend to run and rerun for Justice of the Peace for as long as I can. This is not a political stepping stone for me. I have no interest in going to the county court of law or the district court position. You can be happy about that, Judge Henry. This is where I want to be. This is what best suits my skill set. I don't want anything bigger and better, quote unquote. I want to serve the people of this community. And I love this community too, and shortly after we moved here, I told my wife that this is the first place I've ever lived that feels like home to me, and as I said, I've lived in 8 states. And by the way, just for the record, I've lived in Hays County in High Point in this precinct for 5 years. Before that, we lived 7 years in southwest Travis County, just north of HEB and Circle C. And I've lived in Texas for a total of about 18 years. For some people, that's not good enough, but for me, I think it is. Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure if the person that asked the question realizes that it's not entirely up to the candidate how long they're going to be in office. We get elected. So it's really largely up to you and the constituents of this precinct as to how long someone stays in office. But I'm running for office now. I intend to run again. If the constituents here will have me, if they believe I've done a good enough job, I'd like the opportunity to remain in office. I don't have much more to add than that.
How well will you work with your constable and county sheriff? Will you be available for them? And if not, you'll be arrested on your way out tonight. And this is the other half of that question. I think the sheriff's here somewhere. And I think John, you're up first. Could you tell I was kind of questioning that because I'm not sure, but you were the closest one to me. So.
Yeah, I get it. I think I currently have a great relationship with Sheriff Cutler and with Constable Hood. I would be available all the time for them. That's part of the fun of being Justice of the Peace. You're basically on call 24/7 for inquests and whatever else is needed. And I think I would continue to have a great working relationship with them. As I said earlier, I think whenever you're in a job, it's incumbent upon you to have a good, strong working relationship with everyone you need to work with, because you all collectively need to get the job done. And the Justice of the Peace can't do everything by themselves. They need help with law enforcement, they need help from the clerks in the office, they need help from a lot of different people. And if you get along with other people, you get things done. If you don't get a whole lot accomplished.
Well, I would expect to get along great with the constable and the sheriff and the other office holder. I've watched Judge Kyle, I've been in his office. You may not know, but by law, every session of JP office, you have to have a constable present. And I've watched those two work great together. I've watched Ron Hood. He's out there moving the traffic signs around out with the neat greetings as you enter Dripping Springs. I think we've had a good working relationship. Sheriff Cutler, the first time I really met him, he lived about 3 doors down from me. He needed somebody to sign his petition so he could run for office. And that's the first interaction I had with him. And I believe we've worked together fine ever since that initial meeting. But I don't anticipate any problem working with the constable and the sheriff and other office holders in the county. Thank you.
Yes, I've enjoyed working with Constable Hood whenever we have papers that need to get served, a writ of possession that needs to get served. He's great. He's very responsive. I'm trying to serve somebody. I'm always in contact with him. He's a great constable, and I'll continue working with him. Sheriff Cutler, we're working with the Sheriff's Department right now. We're building a fire station at Sawyer Ranch and Belterra. We're working with the Sheriff's Department to see about having them some housing there. I've talked to Sheriff Cutler. He's come to our events, our North Hays County Fire Rescue Christmas events. We had a good time at that. And I know Sheriff Cutler is a good sheriff, and I will enjoy to continue working with him. And I think in my role in the fire department and as Justice of the Peace, I see that'd be a good working relationship going forward.
All three of you have only been politicians for a few months, and you've all three already learned the art of kissing up quite well. So that was good answers. Okay, y'all timed this out perfectly as well, because I think we told folks about an hour. So we're going to move to closing statements, and our draw on this one will be starting on that end. So it'll be Robert, and then Bill and John, you'll be closing us out.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate your time and attention here tonight. I know that there's been some rumbling I've heard on the campaign trail that, Robert Avera is just a Democrat, gallivanting like a Republican and things like that. I've not heard any of my opponents say anything like that. And I just want to set the record straight on that one point. Yes, my mother is a diehard Democrat, and yes, she has Obama signs out on the ranch. You can go to the Central Appraisal District and ask Avera, and you'll show that she in fact owns that frontage on 290 where those Obama signs are put. I'm not going to tell my mother what to do about that. That's her deal, okay? So I can't control her, and I don't want to try and play like that. Now, I ran for tax assessor back in 2008. The reason why I ran for tax assessor is because I feel the property tax system in this county, in this state, is not right. The appraisals keep going up and up with no accountability. The taxing entities just to sit back and say, hey, we're keeping our tax rate the same. Meanwhile, homeowners are suffering. I ran for tax assessor on that point. The tax assessor is the only elected official that sits on that board. Somebody needs to hold them accountable. The tax assessor needs to tell that chief appraiser, hey, you need to knock this off. You need to quit raising appraisals. Because everybody else on that board is appointed by the largest taxing entities in the county. It's really just a joke. And so I ran on that point. As a result of running, I was able to meet a lot of the elected officials in this county. It was key for me launching my practice, knowing everybody in the area. I'm glad I ran. Looking back now, I should have ran as a Republican. But there were some yellow dog Democrats back when everybody in this county was a Democrat. They were upset with the current tax assessor because she was appointed as a Democrat and switched parties. I'm a Republican. I voted in the primary in 2014. You can look at my record. I have a strong record of keeping taxes low on the fire department board. I've actually lowered property taxes, and I've shifted the burden to sales tax. That's something that Governor Abbott is really looking forward to doing statewide, and I feel like I'd be the best candidate, and I really appreciate your consideration, and I hope you vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bill?
Well, again, my name is Bill Davis. I'm running for Justice of the Peace Precinct 4. As a patent attorney, I didn't represent a lot of individuals. I represented a few, but various life events pulled me into expanding my practice. I ended up representing individuals over property rights issues, against financial institutions, against state agencies. When I say against, you have to understand, they were usually the one that was targeted or picked on first. I believe that as Justice of the Peace, that's a role that's closest to the people, as it were. You have to understand, as a judge, you don't get to be biased one side for the other, but I do believe that my experience in representing those individuals, people facing evictions, people facing foreclosure, people facing loss of a house from an HOA, gives me some understanding with what those people have had to go through before the court. I've represented those people, I still do today, and I would like your vote for Justice of the Peace Precinct 4, because I believe that I would be best suited for the judge that's closest to the people. Thank you.
I too want to thank you all for coming out tonight. It's good to see there's such interest in the local Justice of the Peace race. As I said earlier, I've lived in Hays County in this precinct for 5 years. For the 7 years before that, I lived in the local area, and I've lived in Texas for a total of 18 years. In this race, there's one candidate who's a military veteran. There's only one candidate who's taken this race seriously enough to be out knocking doors for the last 6 months. Currently, I've knocked on over 3,500 doors. There's only one candidate in this race that's ever held a security clearance. There's only one candidate in this race that has decades of personnel management experience, budget management experience, and leadership experience. There's only one candidate in this race who's endorsed by Commissioner Ray Wisnick. As I said earlier, I've been a lifelong Republican, as have both my parents. That doesn't mean I'm inflexible and not willing to listen to others and take their views into consideration, but it does mean that my core values don't shift with the direction of the prevailing political wind. The combination of my professional life experiences make me uniquely qualified to serve as our next Justice of the Peace. I've been working very hard for a long time to earn your vote. I've never run for political office before. I'm running now for the right reasons. I have no political aspirations other than to serve as your Justice of the Peace. I can make a difference, but I need two things from you. First, I need your trust and confidence that I'm the right person for the job. If I haven't convinced you already, let me tell you that the military trusted me with highly sensitive classified information for over a decade. If they can trust me, I would suggest that you can trust me too. Secondly, to make a difference, I need your vote. Please consider voting for me for Justice of the Peace. Early voting starts this Tuesday. Thank you again for coming tonight.
Well, from all of us that are here, and frankly all the citizens, not just in Precinct 4, but across Hays County, because you'll be filling in for Judge Cable over there sometimes, and some of the other folks, you'll be serving all of Hays County. We want to thank all three of you. Also tell you, whoever wins this, you're blessed to be following in the shoes of a great man. And Judge Kyle has really served our community well. And we love him. I think he's already gone. No, here he is, right here. And you're also blessed because I know he'll be the type to pass the torch to you and welcome you in, whoever wins, and help you along and not just slam the door on you. So you're going to be in good hands and being coached by him as well.